Hello, Internet. I'm Dr. Paul.
I am Diet Dr. Paul.
And together we will
Pop you up!
The Super Friends.
This is the Desert Island Institute of Film. We'll get right to it. If you've never been here before, our aim is to make this one of the best movie related sites on all of YouTube. Go back and watch our first video, like us, subscribe, all of those kind of things.
Go and get a time machine and watch our videos in the future while you're at it.
Exactly. Every single Thursday, minimally, we drop a new episode. This guy over here is a madman. He sometimes drops 2 and 3 episodes in a week.
That's crazy talk.
So that's too much that's caused my hair to go
Now you're going to
gray.
make their expectations go up. Thanks.
That's okay, man, because reviews are up, our subs are up. Thank you so much to everybody here.
Indubitably.
Yes, and I already said Godzilla Smash, so this is a review of
Godzilla -1.
Godzilla -1, the 37th Godzilla film in the franchise and the 33rd in the Toho canon. Grandfather of all of the Godzilla films, directed by Takashi Yamazaki, takes place at the end of World War II. This 2-hour movie pays homage to the original Godzilla in terms of its tone and time frame. Godzilla -1 has been critically lauded with 96% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, 82 out of 100 on Metacritic, and 8.4 on IMDb. Film is in color with English subtitles. In a theater near you now. We just got back from the theater, and of course, you're dying to talk about it all the way home on the thing. This is unusual. This is the most unusual Godzilla movie I've ever seen, and I don't know that it's everybody's taste. But what's the best part about going to the movie in the theaters, other than popcorn and your drink?
Well, I'll tell the people out there, we go to a theater that you get all you can drink popcorn and ices and Coke and all that stuff. Is the best.
Yeah. Reclining seats.
Oh, yeah,
kind of
reclining
stuff.
seats. Yep.
I think it only cost us for everything $100.
$7,000 and a leg. It is. It's expensive.
It is, but
The best thing about the movies? That's a tough question. The trailers?
The trailers, man. The trailers.
If I'd have known it was a segue.
Yes, it is. And you know what? The last movie we saw only had 2
trailers?
and this had 2 trailers as well. What were they?
Well, no Madam Web. Thank God. We did see the same things. We don't really need to talk too much about this one, but A Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Looks like it's going to be good. As I said last time, trust me, my guesses were way off. It's not Matt Reeves. Andy Serkis has nothing to do with it.
But it looks in tone and tenor. It looks like it's fully within the franchise. And I'm going to go right now. I'm going to make a prediction. Write this down. Write this down. It is either going to be fantastic or horrible.
I have even more of a prediction, an astute prediction, and I just thought of this. I thought of this the other day, and I just remembered. Here's how this is going to be. Do you remember Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit?
Yeah.
It's going to be Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War for Planet of the Apes, that's Lord of the Rings. This new trilogy is your Hobbit. So I think it'll be good, just not as good. I think it will maybe try a little bit to do things that it just misses on, but I think it'll still be a good movie.
Well, coming Memorial Day, which is typically around May 30th. What else goes on May 30th?
I don't know. I know somebody's got a birthday.
I wonder who could that be? Who possibly could that be?
Bray has a...
No. Think harder. Me, my birthday. No gifts. Well, okay. Second movie they had.
The second movie was Dune Part 2.
Yeah.
Denis Villeneuve.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Can't wait. We saw
that
Dune
in this,
1.
Yep. In that same theater.
And I purchased it on Blu-ray, 4K kind of thing. I want to wait and watch this right before we go see that one. But it's a feast for the eyes, and
I saw the first one twice. I've seen the old one, the re-edit. I've seen it a few times. I thought the beginning of the first one was good, getting into the lore. I thought the second half of that movie was a little dry, but I think it's because they were saving all the good stuff for this one, even some of the stuff that was in the first half of the original film. So I think this one should be good.
yeah.
I'm excited.
Well, good. Then all the lights go down. The structure for our little reviews here, spoiler free, is the good, the bad, and our verdict. Kick us off. What was some of the good things you saw in this?
Well, I think obviously the first thing we should just get into right away is Godzilla. The look is often a polarizing topic. For instance, I remember you going hard on the 2000 Godzilla looking a lot like an iguana, and I remember liking it. But I don't have the same connection to Godzilla as you do. But I thought it was a very good updated look. And we saw it with my nephew, and he said it looked like the old Godzilla mixed with Shin Godzilla, and I think that's a very astute perception, and that's exactly what it looked like to me. And I don't know if you liked the Godzilla or didn't like the Godzilla.
Oh, I did. I think he looks like he needs to get on a Peloton kind of thing because he has got some midsection.
Boy, dick!
Yeah, he really is. So the creature design, that's always what we want to see in this. Let me tell you what I liked about it that might not be something that our viewers would appreciate. In a lot of ways, this is not a kaiju film. Godzilla is not in it as much. I mean, the entire second act, you don't see the guy at all. I don't know, is Godzilla a male or female?
I don't know that they really get into it.
Do you lift the tail up? Is that how you tell?
I don't know.
So, yeah, it is, in all seriousness, this is really, for me, was more of a war drama. And it's really about, post-traumatic stress disorder. It takes place at the end of World War II, and there's the lead is a kamikaze pilot who sort of wimped out and loses his honor among everybody because he pretended his plane was wonky and he couldn't complete his mission. And so it really is a war drama, which I love about it. But I don't know that everybody would appreciate that as much. And I think when you take that and you couple it with subtitles, which I don't know how many, we've done the last 3 films we've done have subtitles. Some people have a problem with it. We took my grandson, your nephew, to this. He can barely walk upright, okay? He'll never watch this. But he paid attention to it, and he said after it was over, he says, "Grandpa, I can read." I said, "Okay." So yeah, I think that this in some ways reminds me a little bit of Deer Hunter. Those of you who haven't seen the movie Deer Hunter, Michael Cimino.
Oh man, heck of a movie.
Oh, it is. It is one of the greatest war movies ever done. But what makes it good is it starts off with the people angle. It's about the Vietnam War, so you get this whole opportunity to connect with these people and their lives and what they're doing and their jobs and the marriage and all this stuff. And then almost immediately it switches to there they are on the battlefield in Vietnam. And it's that juxtaposition between my family, my city, my town, to Godzilla sticking his foot in stuff. And I found that very, very compelling.
Yeah. I'll say, back to the Godzilla thing before I forget, he was scary in this.
Oh.
The scenes that take place in the water, which could have been extremely corny, they were well done. And I remember several times throughout the movie thinking, wow, like this is terrifying. Like he looks scary. One of the earlier scenes with him in it was kind of scary. Very reminded me of Jurassic Park a little bit. So they did a good job with that and making the ominous underwater aspect of it interesting without doing too much.
Yeah, he spends more time underwater than he in Godzilla ever has. And that's good. That's the nice thing about this. They do different things that we've never seen before. There are things in this that add to the Godzilla mythos.
Yes.
That we've never seen before.
Introducing things without going. Like sometimes when they do it, they'll create another version of like evil Godzilla. It's not that.
Yeah.
But I remember, like I said, we looked at each other. There's a scene in this movie about a third of the way maybe, or
Yeah.
halfway, I can't, maybe
Yeah.
I'm off, where we looked at each other and just were like, are you serious?
Yeah.
But it was in a good way.
It's kind of like in Shin Godzilla when they has the transformation.
Yes, you're like, what the
We've never seen, what is that? So I said, I hope that's Godzilla. I want my money back.
yuck. You just look at all sorts of
Yeah.
stupid.
You know, I said in the car is that that when you see a Godzilla movie, there are certain sort of tropes that are common to all of those. In the same way with James Bond, like you're going to have the Aston Martin and you're going to
Shaken,
have
not stirred.
and it is Godzilla smashing buildings, Godzilla that where it's people running from Godzilla, and then always they're going to have the tanks, the military, and of course in the early Godzilla you could tell they're little wind up remote control vehicles. Those three are in this. But they are really the best crowd running from Godzilla I've ever seen, the best tank kind of battle scenes I've ever seen. I mean, Godzilla. I mean, in terms of how the path of destruction that he leaves, absolutely just breathtaking.
Yeah, and the whole, again, with the mythos and just like turning it on its ear a little bit. I talked about before about Superman before, the original Superman, and how, as much as the original Superman's good, the Henry Cavill Superman really captured the power when he flies. And sometimes with the atomic breath or the fire breath or whatever you want to call it, it just seems kind of like laser beam explosion. This, when it happens in it felt like an atomic bomb going off, like these small scale, devastating explosions. And so you felt the power of Godzilla. His arms finally anatomical to his size, where he can like hug you if he wanted to, instead of having like baby T-Rex arms for the whole movie. So I definitely thought it looked good.
You love me.
But it was really good.
I totally agree. And you know what? The more powerful Godzilla is, then the more depressing or challenging it is. How do you deal with, how do you correct this? Because he's unstoppable. And they see that. And so you really think, oh my goodness, what would it be like to be in those villages, and there's nothing you can do? Or what's it like for the military, Really, really good.
How do you defeat a giant monster without some super technologically advanced weapons?
Yeah.
And in this movie, it takes place on the heels of World War II.
Yeah.
And so it's like devastated post-war. They don't have even really a standard government set up in this thing. So the response team I referenced to is like this militia, which just goes to show that the writing, I think, was even better to write that era and sort of that setup into a Godzilla movie that didn't require some, person running in at the last minute. Oh, here's the nuclear gun that we forgot about in the drawer of the White House.
Yeah. It is kind of a theme around, it's the power of the individuals. It's not the government that's going to save us, not necessarily weaponry, technology. It's people that have heart and soul banding together. And that's a great message for today's world. Because
The main message that I kept going back to, that I kept hearing from them was, at the end, people banding together in like Army of Darkness, like, you can have my axe and I'll my bow. And it's kind of like that at the end. Or not at the end, but there's a point where they like kind of galvanize, and it's like, well, do we really want to do this? And it's not so much, again, with having this big, massive line of army tanks and the 5 generals, and they're calling in their airstrikes. It just seemed to make things a little more realistic to me.
Yeah.
And anytime you can take a story like that and make it seem realistic, like Shin Godzilla was able to do, that's always a good thing.
Nice double feature. This and which one would you watch first, and which would you watch second?
I don't want to say this because, you watch the first scene of Godzilla -1, then you watch Shin Godzilla, and then you watch the rest of Godzilla -1.
You heard it here first.
It might not make any sense. There's no spoilers in there. It's the opening scene. But that does remind me, the one other thing that really stuck out in this movie, and I came out and this is having recently in the last week I saw The Killer, and then I saw The Killer, hit my mic. Recently in the last week saw The Killer, and then we saw Napoleon. Two of the best sounded films in a long time for different reasons. The music in this Godzilla movie, it's the best Godzilla music, bar none. My only gripe with it is there's just not more music in the movie. But the scenes when they unleash the score on you, finally, it's like bam, the Godzilla theme. It like shook my bones.
Yeah.
It was just that was
When we saw
money.
Shin Godzilla, they didn't play it at all until the credits came on, and you could feel the audience like this. They do bring that the traditional one.
Bum,
Yeah,
bum.
a lot of ambient music in this. There is a section of the score. I totally agree with you. And there's a classical work by a composer called Gorecki, and it is. You remember the days back with CD clubs, and you
Pick
you
of
get
CDs.
9 kind of stuff, and it was like highly rated thing. And it is the most haunting classical music. This Gorecki thing, it sounded like I can think, man, this sounds like Gorecki that they're playing, but it really does take you away. That's the good.
The good,
What about the stink?
the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go first?
Yeah, I think that that the supporting cast is far superior to the lead actor and actress, and it's not that they're bad. They just it's tiring that the lead actor, the kamikaze pilot, seems to have one expression and one function, and it's just the PTSD, just to sort of sit and or cry and snivel kind of stuff. And I'm not trying to diminish
No,
what it's like for veterans to go through that, but I don't think that his acting sort of kept up with that. And the same thing with the young lady that played.
To say about the male, and I just now thought of this, I think maybe where he's supposed to be a little bit unlikable throughout that movie. Because if you think about it, he's a kamikaze pilot, and it's all about honor in that culture, especially in that time period. They welded those things shut in real life because that's like, there's no backing out. So I think that it would have made him just kind of a piece of crap to begin with.
Yeah. Well,
So maybe you're supposed to be unlikable, and now he does the one trick, but I think he does it well. It's just too much of it.
Yeah, he's a broken man in that. The young lady that was in it, there's a scene where she's on a train car and her life is really in peril from Godzilla. And I'm thinking, if that were me, I would be pooping my rompers. And she's screaming, but it was more of the 1960s or what you see in the early, Godzilla films, kind of stuff. It just didn't seem
Yes.
like it was, sister, bust some gut here.
She was very much the one thing that felt like it was just picked at random from a random Godzilla movie, like a character just thrown in there that needs to be there. Okay, we need someone to scream on a train. Here we insert that. She just was kind of missable for me. I think they could have removed a lot of her out of it, because it's a lot of it's about her and the guy and the little girl and this unusual family and I love that part, but a lot of stuff with the lady by herself I didn't care for. In fact, I liked the neighbor lady more.
Yes.
Because she was textured and she didn't like him and she had reasons not to like the guy. But that just really took away, and there was some bad stuff in there.
It takes a while for you to care. Typically in a
Yes.
movie, you have to care about the characters.
Yes.
If you don't care about the characters, then they're cardboard cutouts. And when somebody gets shot, it's nothing. It's like a video game. And it took too long.
When
to
was it
get
for you?
To
Do you remember?
I don't know. I can't.
I can tell you exactly when it
When?
was. The scene with the boat crew, the first scene with the boat crew. That's the moment where the film picked back up for me.
And it's because I think the supporting cast sort
They
of
were
are.
sublime.
Yeah, they were.
The captain of the boat, the scientist guy, the newbie, they were sublimely casted, and they were very, 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 I think, cliche on purpose to like a reason as a homage. But that's when it picked back up for me.
Yeah. The other things that I kind of had a problem with were just some believability things that, and I don't know if this is a cultural thing or not, but at one point the lead actress is in the path of Godzilla and there, it's the whole thing, the crowd's running kind of stuff. And out of nowhere, this male lead, the partner, the kamikaze pilot, just sort of grabs her and picks her up off the ground. Where has he been? How would you find somebody? It's like going to the Super Bowl and finding one person. It that didn't work for me. And there's also there's a plane that they want to refurbish, and they need to find this airplane mechanic, right? Now they say that we know Godzilla's going to be here in 10 days.
About 10 days.
And how are we going to find this guy? The kamikaze pilot sits down and writes a bunch of letters and puts them in the mail. And then, there's a scene where the kamikaze pilot's got all these letters. And I'm thinking, he's here in 10 days. And, it's not like it's emails, like instantaneously.
No.
I thought, really? That's kind of...
There was a cool little side note to that is the letters he wrote to him was actually basically telling that it his fault everything that happened in the story, and it pissed him off so much that it made him find him quicker
Yes.
to get back. So I thought that was a cool
like
little
that.
little twist to that. But you're absolutely right.
You have rampant destruction everywhere.
Oh yeah, I'm
How
sure
do
the
you
postal
even-
service is carrying letters now.
Now they did have later on in the film they had a telegram and the guy's on a bicycle.
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But I did. It just sort of that just sort of pulled me out of the whole thing.
I agree with both of those. But the biggest thing for me was the pacing in this. It needs some help in the pace department. For everything that's good in this, and it's some of the best Godzilla on film, not just Godzilla, but Godzilla-related story is in this film. But there's I'll say about 30% of this movie needs some either reworking or it needs to be removed from it. I think that this film works better at about an hour and 45, hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah, it's 2 hours and 5. Yeah,
And
so
if
you're
you could
right.
trim that out of there, a lot of the early scenes with the girl and the guy before the family element starts to kick in, remove a lot of that, removing some of those long scenes where he's kind of like in pain and anguish just kind of randomly. And I think this movie could be exquisite.
Yeah.
Despite its obvious flaws, Godzilla Minus One might be the most well-rounded film residing within the Godzilla pantheon, touching on themes of trauma, hope, honor, and loss. Along the backdrop of a post-war Japan, Yamazaki brings us one of the most terrifying iterations of Godzilla ever put to screen, a uniquely sinister version of the King of Monsters. A truly thought-provoking story wrapped in a beautifully designed score, along with an expertly crafted visual style, easily lifts Godzilla Minus One into the upper echelon of Toho films. However, it does fall short of the precipice occupied by either Gojira or Shin Godzilla. Certain misfires in the movie's pacing cause the story to drag along at times during the first and second acts. Dr. Paul gave it a 7.5 out of 10, while I gave it a 7.9 out of 10.
Negatives definitely hurt. The positives are so good, but the negatives are bad.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that it has the scores that it does online because it's not, there's action in it, but you got to go through the desert, you got to go through a lot of talking and a lot of subtitles before you get to the set pieces, the action set pieces on that. And
It's a little early too. So I think the people that have seen it, because it just got released yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
So the people that have seen it and reviewed it are movie buffs.
where
Critics
would
or people that love movies.
where would you put it in the Godzilla canon?
I think for me, Shin Godzilla still reigns supreme. And then obviously you have like the original and you have Gojira. And then I like some of the Island of Monsters stuff, but that's really kind of cheesy and from a kid. But I think it's got to be at top 5, I think.
Yeah, I agree. There's no Godzilla is not. I mean, he has a personality in the
He has
other.
that. You just hit the nail on it. He absolutely has a personality in this,
Yeah.
but it's not over the top in like a stupid way. Like the first time you see Godzilla, like see a target, mine. See a target, mine. And he can you can see there's a thinking, breathing animal in there.
Yeah, he's evil incarnate. He really is.
And let's be honest, Godzilla movies, people aren't going for these for the cinema quality most of the time. There's always setbacks to these films because they're kind of like sci-fi, culty, nerdy movies. So we put up with that, but that's okay. There's a charm to that itself.
Yeah.
This may end up being the romance novel of the Godzilla pantheon,
Yeah. Shin Godzilla was more about the ineptitude of government and the ultimate sort of government sort of stepping up and finally doing the right thing. This is sort of looking at the ineptitude of humanity because
Mm-hmm.
he fails as a kamikaze, but then his art comes back and he does do what he needs to do to save it. It's all about the power of one kind of stuff, and so
Themes of cowardice and honor and bravery
yeah,
too.
yeah. So
Yeah, good stuff.
well, we hope you go see this. Since even I mean the good on this significantly outweighs
Yes.
the
Just know that
bad.
the bad is in the early parts of this film, or most of the bad stuff's early. So if you can just push through, just hit your Lamaze, your deep, your breaths, and get through it, and you'll you know it. It's good.
Yeah,
It's coming
and
back
the
around.
subtitles are not they're not as much of an obstacle as say the ones that we just saw for the When Evil Lurks.
Yeah, and you
that
don't have
was-
the technical mumbo jumbo and the jargon to deal with like you did in Shin Godzilla. So there's that part
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, there's things in this you've never seen before in a Godzilla movie. There's concept and themes you've never seen before, and I'm like thinking, yes, that is now part of the Godzilla canon.
And it's awesome that it is.
Yeah, it is.
You're welcome.
So join us back here. As always, like us, share us, all that kind of stuff. Leave your comments. We sincerely, people are kind, and the internet can be a cruel place, and we appreciate your constructive input or ideas, movies that you'd like an input on. As always, our goal is to turn you on to a movie that you might not otherwise go see. And I think with 3 films with subtitles in the last 3 episodes,
Hopefully you got one in there you liked.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. So take care, and we will see you at the movies.